I said, I know you did that.
I just totally lost it with David and Rick to not reading over some
Oh, I
reading
know.
books.
That was great.
Okay, all set?
Yep.
Call this meeting to order. First item on our agenda is public input. Is there anyone seeking recognition? No? Okay, we'll move right along to student report. We have Jonathan.
Hi everyone. I don't have too much to talk about, but I'm trying to make it as interesting as possible. Midterms ended last week. It was very fun, I do have to say. But it was good. We had our half days, 2 exams every day. Got those out of the way. We're starting to get grades back, which is good. Or bad, depending. The boys and girls track team went to the Reggie Lewis Center in Boston for the state relays. Very good turnout and results. The semi-dance is this Saturday, sponsored by the senior class, $10 a ticket. Grades close for the quarter on February 1st. They kind of already closed, but officially they're doing the 1st. There's a new team. I'm a part of it actually. It's called the World Quest, and it's a program that's put on by an organization, a nonprofit. And basically we went into Museum of Fine Arts last Saturday and we kind of took a quiz. There was 4 of us, and it's about things that have to do with UN actions and world affairs, things like that. And the top team got to go to DC. We came in third. We missed out by 3 points, but it was good. It was a fun time. Mock trials. First trial was today. I don't know how they did, but it was today. The boys and girls varsity basketball teams speed games very last Friday, which is very nice. Probably, I don't know who did it last time, but they probably already mentioned this. The sociology and law class is going to the Essex County Correctional Facility in Middleton for a field trip. That's in February. It's in a couple weeks. The team sign-ups for the SAD volleyball night, they didn't do it last year. They did it the year before, though, are this week, and it's in March, and it's just a night of good decisions, playing volleyball, which is always fun. Relay for Life has started organizing, and that's June 4th and 5th. The Indirect Club is having an E-Mark dance this Friday night, and the Maskers are doing a 1-act of their show, The Miser, the play they did in the fall at Ipswich High School at Drama Fest on February 27th. Now, because of midterms, all of my schoolwork has been related to studying, so I didn't have much to talk about. I always like to put out stuff for you guys, though. But basically, I'm in AP Chemistry, and we're doing a practice exam on the 27th of March. It's done by the Salem State Collaborative, and we go to Linfield High School, and basically you get it's kind of like a PSAT for the AP test. It's you get to see what the format's like. You get to take practice test, all the practice problems, and then they grade it for you. The teachers who bring you, they correct them. So it's nice. You get some practice. You get to see how it is. AP Bio, I believe, is doing it also, but I'm not in that class. And AP US is doing one, but it's just run by the teacher who's doing the class. But it's nice. It's a good experience, I would say. Hopefully it'll help with the test.
Sounds like a blast.
They'll be less nervous for the real test.
Sure. And that's it.
Any
I blew
questions?
my eyebrows off in chemistry.
They look okay.
Yeah, they grew back. That's good.
I would have taken AP Chemistry. I couldn't get out of regular.
Right.
I do have a question. I don't know if it's for Kyle or Dr. Manville. The Relay for Life is the
June 4th to the 5th.
in the past they've camped on
On
the
the-
track.
Right.
Do we have a
We
new-
talked, actually that came up today at the meeting, was where are people gonna go? Because we're sure that you can't drive 10 stakes into the turf.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So there was some question about whether or not it's gonna go in the practice field, if that's gonna be sodded and ready to go, or down on the baseball field, the outfield of the baseball
Yeah, let's get back to us on that.
Okay.
Maybe even like the batch field, if
Yeah, that came up too.
If that's the
as
middle of
possible.
baseball season
Yep.
and we're in the States.
Yeah, because I think the key issue there too is not only the tents there, but, you know, there's a lot of food and beverages at that event, and we just can't have those on that field or the track. So,
Yeah.
I mean, they could use the track to walk around, but.
This might be a good time for people to consider switching a venue to like the Ipswich River.
Right.
I don't know who,
They
is in
normally
charge of that?
call me in March or April to discuss the arrangements. They haven't called, but based on this conversation, I'll try to reach them.
Yeah, we might because of the change in the status of the field now.
Sure, Ipswich River provides a track and
Right.
lots of green space for tenting, and so we might
Yeah.
consider working with recreation and this group and,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know, well, you could get DPW, but now one of those
Spray.
sprayers and spray, sure. Yes, let's get that moving before June rolls around. Good, thank you very much, Charlotte.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Good
Charlotte.
review. Next we have our attorney Nancy McGuire. Nancy, come on up. She's going to enlighten us on the changes in the open meeting law. I want to find North Reading in a lawsuit like some other communities have, so thank you, Nancy, for coming tonight.
Good evening, everyone. I think in your packet you have a copy of the district attorney's action involving the Wayland School Committee, and that was involved a specific circumstance regarding executive sessions and whether there was discussion about performance of the superintendent or whether it was about contract salary negotiations. And there was really also an issue of email communications between members of the school committee, and there was a request for the press for the communications, and that's how it arose. And then because there's a time period under state law of 28 days for an action to be brought by the district attorney's office, they thought it was a significant enough matter of public interest because it involved two state laws, the open meeting law and the right to have an actual written personnel evaluation be private and not be disclosed unless the person chose to disclose it. So you had two laws that aren't inconsistent, but compliance with them under some circumstances may be challenging. So here the highest court in Massachusetts, the Supreme Judicial Court, decided to hear the case to provide some guidance. As in a lot of cases, it does provide guidance, but it also then could raise some particular questions too. But the two issues really concern the reasons for going into executive session, and then when do verbal communications or written communications outside of that process between members of the school committee become deliberations and subject to the open meeting law. So I know you have a chance to review the case, and I also provided you with a little shortened summary of the key comments from and quotes from the case, which provide some guidance, and then really to see what type of questions that you may have that we could discuss, whether it's the purpose of issues surrounding going into executive session, the procedure or purpose. And here, one of the challenges was that the Wayland School Committee said, no, we went into executive discussion to talk about the relationship between the superintendent's performance and our strategy for negotiating a renewal of the contract and the salary. But it wasn't clear from the reason in the minutes that they went into executive session, and that's why the court said we put the burden on the school committee to accurately describe what the reason was. So that was the technical part of it. And then the more interesting or the broader implication, which was somewhat of a surprise, is the discussion about the emails, because the court did say the email communications between just two of us, when it was just two school committee persons exchanging emails, was not a quorum, and it didn't constitute deliberations. But in the context and all the circumstances that they looked at with the case, they thought that there was strong, there certainly was information that performance was discussed. And there was a specific request from the chair to comment on the superintendent's performance and to provide a written evaluation. And that was done outside of discussion first in the open meeting about performance. So the court found that was, whether it was intentional or not, it got around the open meeting law, and that wasn't the spirit or the intent of the law. So you know what, you can't do it. You have to disclose those emails, which they had already disclosed. Anyways, they willingly disclosed the emails. So when do verbal exchanges become subject to the open meeting law? You can discuss business outside of the school committee meeting. You can have social contact. You can have chance contact with members of the committee, and you can discuss business. When does it become deliberations that would be subject to the discussion at an open meeting? So it depends on what the purpose is, and what the content of the speech is, and what the intent is, and it's going to be very fact specific. So I don't mean to be an alarmist by saying that every communication. I've heard some people in our group of Association of School Attorneys, some attorneys are saying, their clients are saying, we're not going to have any discussion outside of a meeting at all. If I see another school committee member other than, hi, and how are you, I'm going to say, don't talk to me. That's not what this case is saying. And you can discuss business. You can't make a decision without a quorum, which you're not going to do. You can't, anything that's subject to the discussion in an open meeting has to occur, and you have to have a purpose that is acceptable under law to go into executive session.
Here's a question for you in terms of email. When someone makes a request that emails be made public, do they have to make a specific request, or can they just say, I want to see all the emails that the school committee might have sent over the last 3 years? In other words, when someone comes to the court or wherever they and say, I know, do they have to say, I know there have been emails going back and forth in this case about the superintendent's evaluation, I want to see those? I mean, how is that request made?
Well, they'd have to determine it's a public record, first of all, to
Right,
request it.
right.
And then they would have to request it from
Right,
whatever the
but they have to ask for a
agency is.
specific, that's what I'm saying, they have to ask for, I want to see all emails related to X. In this case, the evaluation of the superintendent. Is that how it works, or?
Yeah, but the problem,
No.
again, is, the problem with the public records requests is they're usually very broad and encompassing, and then you have to basically decide what specifically they're asking for. And there's a method of appeal. If they don't get a response in 10 days, they have the right to appeal to, I think it's the district court?
They're supposed to go through the public records representative
The
in the district
Secretary's
attorney's
yeah,
office
district
before you
attorney's
go to court. You just
Yeah.
can't go right to court.
So but a lot of times they'll ask you that, just this gigantic general request for information that would be cumbersome and possible to respond to sometimes. So usually what you do is go back and say, be more
I think
specific.
it's narrowed down.
Right, you have the right to engage in discussion of what it is that you're asking for, and
Right.
what is it
Okay.
relevant, and what why would it be a public record?
And the general law gives a pretty specific definition of what a public record is.
Right.
To avoid getting in any trouble.
Certain
Do you
tips.
suggest that we keep written copies of all email communication?
No.
Okay. Do you suggest that we never communicate to a majority of members, but rather one at a time?
Communicate, once again, it depends what the content of the
It's
communication
deliberate,
is.
again, deliberate versus communicate, right? Because if I find out that North Reading is getting X million dollars in Chapter 70 and I email the entire school committee, I think that that's information.
Right.
Okay.
Versus, I sent Maureen and I sent the committee an email saying, I think that, I can't believe that David Trogan worked here 15 years. We need to get rid of him